total of 92 rattlesnakes underneath her house.
Yeah, you could feel like it was warm and squishy.
The excitement of Amber Hall and her kids moving into a new home quickly turned into a nightmare when she found tons of snakes living in her walls and under her patio.
It's rough. I'm 42 years old and this is my first home. I've worked my whole life for it.
Not always an archaeological site yields bizarre discoveries. You never know what secrets the walls of your room are locking up. Terrifying crawlers or hidden treasures, uncovering creepy messages. Let's find out what these strange marks on the walls revealed. Freeloader tenant. A family in Thailand was baffled when a slithery serpent was discovered living in their ceiling. To get rid of the intruder, they called a snake catcher. The man pulled it outside, hoping for a small critter. It just kept coming and coming, leaving the ceiling in destruction. The massive python rushed to attack the man, but the expert skillfully dodged it. The man finally caught its head and got the situation under control. He was praised by many on the internet due to his incredible skills. Here's another similar incident. A 20-foot-long reptile was spotted in between the ceiling tiles at a restaurant in Hong Kong. Customers enjoying their meals were left horrified when the slithering creature suddenly crept down a hole from above while they were eating. The workers first used the rod to make a bigger hole in the ceiling, then guided it out using a metal hook. As the snake tried to get away, they used their bare hands to capture the serpent. At last, after struggling for a few minutes, they were able to seize the snake. Well, good for them. They could have just put it on today's menu, as snakes are a delicacy in Hong Kong. Walled python. If you guys think your biggest problem is the lurking cockroaches and lizards, then this guy with something totally unexpected will force you to change your mind. A homeowner in Bangkok heard some clunking sound coming out from a wall. To investigate further, he put his ears, but suddenly the sound turned into a frightening noise. Just like a terrifying hiss, a rescue team was called who quickly used a hammer to hack into the wall where the huge serpent was found coiled up. The gigantic 15-foot-long python was trying to crawl deeper into the wall of the room. But before it slithered away, the serpent was captured and returned to its rightful home, the great outdoors. Maybe he was visiting and needed a place to stay. Slithering surprises.
You often hear about termites in homes, but it's not every day you hear about this.
A homeowner in Colorado found herself in a nightmare of a situation when she moved into her newly bought Centennial home. Excited about settling into her new residence, she made a startling discovery. Shockingly, large snakes slithering in the walls of her house. Her dog stumbled upon the first reptile in the garage while she was about to unpack and hoped it was the only one. Unfortunately, the nightmare persisted. 2 weeks later, she discovered 10 more snakes flinging around different parts of her property. She was disheartened as she was unable to enjoy her house without fear for their safety. After spending a lot of money on snake traps with unsatisfying results, she contemplated what else to do. Truly, it was a baffling and distressing turn of events. Plumbing terror. This man found a surprise visitor while doing the plumbing repairs at home. As the mold was removed to reach the interior of the wall, he found something lurking around. It was a gray rat snake. The man had no idea how long the creature had been living there, but it did not look like an adult one. Look at its thin body. Although this species is pretty harmless, its bite can cause a great deal of discomfort, so it is rather reasonable to not provoke it. Instead of being a damsel in distress, he became his own savior and removed the snake diligently from his room. He then set it free outside the premises of the property, as the rat snakes are a good force against mice and rodents that can infest the house structures. Walled in. Why do snakes like bathrooms that much anyway? This man found a rattlesnake lurking in the wall of his bathroom and decided to take the matter into his own hands. He captured the snake in a container and looked around the area for more. Just when he thought there weren't any other snakes there, skin sheds of 3 snakes popped up. At this point, forget about being his hero. It was time to call a snake charmer. Catching and releasing the snakes into the wild, he thought it was over. But later that night, another one crept up from behind the wall. They captured that one too. Well, I do not know what they did next. Furry crisis. A man found a creature living in the walls of a building. Out of the kindness of his heart, he fed the animal for 2 years and discovered that it was a cat. Now he started to suspect that it somehow had got trapped in there. The man informed the animal rescue department and asked for help, as he thought that the animal might not be able to get out of there on its own. To lure the cat out safely, they created a rescue mission plan, planted cameras and drilled holes in different parts to help the poor kitty escape. Finally, they managed to get hold of this furry creature and took it for examination. Sneaky raccoon.
Originally what we thought was a skunk that fell through a window well and then came through the basement window in behind a wall.
A critter made himself at home in the basement walls of a home in Brantford. It was quite an ordeal for the homeowner. Luckily, he found the man for this job pretty quickly, because if the animal wasn't removed from the Wall's homes immediately, a lot of damage would have occurred. The expert found the raccoon hiding behind a wall. He then made the effort to pull the animal out, and he was struggling a bit as raccoons are mighty strong animals. Finally, without any damage, he put the animal in the cage, planning to set it free in the wilderness.
You're mighty strong.
Garage keepers.
It might not be as dramatic as you think.
I think this woman can easily win the title for having the most horrific garage keepers ever. She found a huge number of insects inside the wall and decided to seek advice by uploading a video online. What she thought was a teeny tiny hornet's nest turned out to be a colony of more than 50,000 honeybees, and she remained oblivious as they made their home in the walls of her home. A local beekeeper lent his help and began the excavation process by removing the parts of the wall. After a 4-hour-long procedure, he was successful in extracting all the bees from the wall, calling it a flawless experience. He took the bees with him and relocated them to a permanent hive where they can freely live now.
It's insane. Like, it was like, I just kind of was like, oh my God.
Huge beehive. Imagine stumbling upon a massive beehive tucked away in the ceiling of your house. This incredible discovery happened in Australia during spring, when bees were on the hunt for new spots to start a new colony. Instead of finding a cozy tree, these clever bees decided to make themselves at home in the walls or ceilings of houses. Inside this hidden hive, there was a treasure trove of honey, weighing a whopping 50 kilograms, along with a bustling community of 50 to 60,000 buzzing bees. And all that in just 10 months. While the homeowner initially didn't mind having the bees around, they eventually decided it might be best to relocate them. So they called a bee whisperer who carefully took each hive and bee to give them a new home. Burger outlet. If you are food nostalgic, here's a blast from the past. Ever seen a restaurant frozen in time? Well, in 2022, a Burger King outlet was discovered hidden behind a wall in a shopping mall in Delaware. The restaurant first opened in 1987 at the Concord Mall. Unfortunately, the restaurant closed 15 years ago and was sealed off behind a wall. The rest of the mall was renovated around it until a curious contractor opened this locked door. The restaurant features retro wall decor, wooden booths, and old soda machines perfectly preserved, evoking the era of its heyday. People have been reaching out to the mall owners to have a tour of the shop as it brings many of their cherished memories.
This place is terrifying.
Secret tunnel. Freddie was looking through old photos of his 500-year-old family home when his eye caught the sight of a secret doorway in the library room. Curious to find what may be waiting there to be unraveled, he decided to remove the bookcase, and it led to an astonishing discovery.
Now we're gonna see what is behind this door. Oh my God.
A dozen underground tunnels and hidden rooms underneath the house.
So I've just pulled up this board and there seems to be a hole that leads to another room. There's also this really creepy staircase that leads up there.
He climbed up the ladder and found a huge room with a wasp nest.
So I made it upstairs and the first thing I saw was this massive wasp's nest. So this room is actually huge. My light won't even reach that far.
The servants' living quarters and storage rooms. He tried to get deeper, but his research ended after finding a staircase that was blocked up.
I found this corridor here and these stairs, but they're blocked off.
Who knows what other mysteries might have been hidden behind that? Rattle Battle. It's a good thing Halloween has passed because this story is creepy, especially if snakes aren't your thing. A homeowner in Northern California was surprised to find more than a few rattlesnakes living under their home recently. Nearly 100 rattlesnakes were found there. The homeowner called a snake wrangler to remove the slithery reptiles. The man, passionate about his job for 32 years, caught his first snake within a few minutes. And then the count quickly multiplied, reaching 10, 20, 30, and even higher, nearly reaching 100, making the house snake-free. Apartment mystery. This woman broadcasted an intriguing discovery on TikTok that she made in her apartment in New York. She got suspicious as her apartment was always cold no matter what she did. However, one day, she removed the mirror on the wall and was left stunned after finding an entryway to a seemingly abandoned secret room.
There's a room back there.
Her curiosity got the best of her as she wanted to find out more about that room. Once she got in, she found it was, in fact, a whole other apartment. The exposed wiring and pipes suggested that the apartment may have been abandoned mid-construction. Well, that could have easily turned into a horror thriller movie. Hidden stash. During a home renovation, a couple discovered a prohibited treasure that was secretly concealed behind the wall. More than 60 bottles of wine from the Prohibition era.
All of a sudden, like a whole bunch of stuff falls out. And at first, I don't really realize what's happening or what I'm looking at. There's just sort of like a pile of hay and paper and straw, and I'm sort of like sifting through it, and I start to realize that there is actually a packet.
They found the bottles from 1923 inside the walls and under the floorboards. Lift off the cover, and there's banned booze straight out of the Roaring '20s.
1923.
I know, it's pretty amazing.
That is so cool.
The stash had been hidden there for nearly 100 years. Some of the liquor had evaporated, but there was still a lot left. Many of the bottles were bundled together and wrapped in brown paper and straw. After keeping a few bottles for themselves, they planned on selling the other ones for a lifetime fortune. Victorian Well. A granddad has spent the last decade digging out a 17 feet deep medieval well in his living room while redecorating.
My name is Colin Steer and I have found an old well underneath my living room floor.
Colin discovered the well after he noticed a dip in the floor 37 years ago and has since spent the years after his retirement digging out the well. The 70-year-old believes that the well could date back to medieval times after discovering an old sword while digging out the well, and plans of the site suggest that the well could date back to the 1500s. However, they could not find out why exactly it was built there. It is a good thing to show it off to people, as it is not something that you see every day. Cockroach-infested telephone. This skin-crawling moment was filmed in 2019 when a maintenance worker visited a house in Australia and found a dirty and useless landline just hanging on a derelict wall. After poking around a little bit with the phone, he opened its body and was shocked to find hundreds of cockroaches spilling out of the disused phone, much like the worst nightmare. The video of the bizarre incident was posted online and has since been creeping netizens out at a viral pace. Mayan murals. A family decided to renovate the kitchen of their new home when they stumbled upon ancient murals. Hidden behind the layers of paint on the walls, the figurines on these pieces of art represented something known as the conquest dance. It was used by Mayan people to reenact history when Spanish forces invaded them. Further investigations have been started to find the origins of this art. The Mayan civilization of South America was known to be an advanced one, that created many significant architecture and technology. Much of it has been lost to the past, but it is hoped that these murals will provide an extraordinary insight into their ancient culture. Mystery Room. A mystery unfolded in a recently purchased Virginia home when the owner of that house was unpacking her things in her new room. Suddenly, she noticed a latch on the floor, and it was attached to the bookcase, and there was a seam there.
We're gonna see if this opens, because it looks like there's a seam.
As they tried to slide it out, a hidden door opened that no one in the family knew existed. Naturally curious, they wanted to see what was on the other side of the door, and it was a secret room. It was completely insulated and even had a working light. On the floor in the room was a hidden drawer.
Oh my gosh, what's that?
And inside that was a box of rare coins.
It's got an elliptic sign. What?
No way.
Looks like someone had left their treasure behind. Clifton Cafe. While renovating the Clifton's Cafe in LA, the construction workers found something bizarre. It was not something eerie or dark, but rather bright. Behind a wall was a huge neon light that had been burning bright for an astonishing 70 years. The experts believe that it might just be the oldest and continuously lit neon light ever. In the past, it used to be a vintage cafe decorated with a unique interior and was believed to have been originally installed in 1935. It is truly mind-blowing how it went completely unseen until recently and had been adding a staggering $17,000 to the bill. Quite a price for an ancient neon sign. Lost art. Imagine finding a piece of art exactly where you lost it. Recently, experts confirmed that they have recovered a masterpiece stolen from an art gallery in Italy nearly 2 decades ago.
Experts confirming they've recovered a masterpiece stolen nearly a quarter century ago, but the discovery is now leading to a lot more questions.
The location of the century-old masterpiece has been one of the art world's biggest mysteries ever, only to be solved after discovering a secret door in the gallery's walls. The gallery planned to run further tests on the piece to uncover more of its mysteries, including, hopefully, who stole it. It will then go back on display at the gallery. Popular opinion is that the person who intended to steal it stashed it in the museum, as it was impractical to sell it. Risky business, I must say. Hole in the wall. These women set out on a mission when they heard chirping coming from inside their walls. Unsure of what could be inside, they brought the equipment to trap the animal stuck inside. One of them made a hole in the wall to give it space to come out. A squirrel made its way out of the wall into the box. The poor animal got stuck in the wall and seemed to be desperate for help. These girls carefully took the box outside and released it in a safe space. They even named it Fluffy, while netizens believed it was the perfect opportunity to name him Wally. Rats take over. On the roof, running around the backyard and gathered in every creek and corner, residents in Lakewood were living through a nightmare, reminiscent of a horror movie, with a nearby house taken over by rats, and the neighborhood had a foul odor.
But we don't know what's inside the house. There could be millions of these just laying on top of each other.
The residents found themselves plagued by the sight of rats everywhere. The authorities intervened and planned to access the property and save the community from a very unhygienic situation. Snakes in mattress. A video posted in 2020 by an unknown source shows a group of surprised men who discovered a snake head popping out of an old mattress. However, the surprise suddenly turned into a shock when they decided to remove that by cutting down the stuffed layers of that mattress. And this is when they found a colossus cluster of snakes under the huge spring net. Not only 10 or 20, there were more than 50 snakes trapped inside. A young man could be seen using a shovel to remove the snakes from the side of the mattress, and the other 2 were collecting them in a sack. After freeing the mattress from the reptiles, they were transported to the wildlife authorities, but why and how they all went inside is still unknown. Massive wasp nest. Sleeping with thousands of wasps in your wall is a bit unnerving, to say the least. But this man went through this for quite some time, as there was an immense German yellow jacket colony from inside a bedroom wall found right behind the headboard. They found entry through a compromised spot under a window and expanded the nest by chewing through particle board and drywall. At its peak, the colony housed between 2,500 to 3,500 yellow jackets with about 10 layers of comb containing numerous cells for egg laying. The founding queen played a crucial role in laying eggs. So the removal team carefully extracted the intact nest to minimize disruption and then took them to a place more suitable for them. So far, you have seen many creatures hiding in the most unexpected places. Now, let's see what other weird things were found concealed in the walls. Animal carcass.
A family in the borough of Auburn is trying to clean out the walls of their home after they found dozens of animal carcasses hidden inside them.
This family was just trying to add some insulation to a room in their home in Auburn, but they found the home was already insulated, but with dozens of animal carcasses. They also found half-used spices and other artifacts filled behind layers of drywall.
We were shocked, horrified, and disgusted.
These remains were all wrapped in old newspapers from the 1930s and 40s. They first found animals in the walls back in 2012 and have been removing the items ever since. Experts suggested that the presence of these things in the wall might be Dutch magic to keep away ailments. But the old tradition has given this family a hit of around $20,000. Note from doll. A man from Liverpool made a bizarre discovery inside the walls of the home he just purchased. While renovating, he found a doll hidden inside the wall.
Figure out what it does. So I put the hole in, looked inside, and that's when I found the doll.
While this would normally be an unusual find, the note that accompanied the doll made the situation much creepier. It claimed that the doll's name was Emily, and she had put an end to the lives of her previous owners.
Lived here with the original owners in 1961. She didn't like them very much, so she murdered them with knives.
Oh my God.
Doesn't it sound like the origin of a horror story plot? It sure does to me. The homeowner did not take it seriously, as the doll didn't seem to be from the 1960s and may have been propped there as some part of a practical prank. But what do you think of this creepy doll? Was it the real deal or just a hoax? Let me know in the comments. Birds Horde. If there's one thing you won't expect to see behind the walls of your home, it's probably this. 700 pounds of acorn and nuts. It just keeps coming out. Look at that huge pile.
When homeowners called in an exterminator to get rid of something behind the wall, little did they know what they would find.
A couple called the experts to look for mealworms in their house, not having the tiniest bit of idea that it would lead to this.
Holy bro!
All of these were collected by the acorn woodpecker, just the lone bird trying to stock up for the upcoming winter. The exterminator claimed that the woodpecker had built this extraordinary stockpile for at least 2 to 3 years. It just continued to fill the gap, unsure of whether he would be able to use its treasure.
Did you ever see the woodpecker?
We actually saw the woodpecker trying to put more acorns in chimney stack.
This bird sure has more savings than me. Let's hope they return these to the hard-working woodpecker.
Unreal.
Love letters. A remodeling project turned into a heartwarming discovery in 2015 when love letters from a World War I soldier to his sweetheart were found stuffed in the attic wall of a home in India. The letters dated back to July 1918. At that time, he was in training before being sent to Europe in the war. No one was sure how the letter ended up in their attic wall, but they wanted to return these to their rightful owner.
I thought we had ghosts, like I said at first. These letters just kept appearing. You know, we go up there one day, next day come up, and here comes another batch of letters.
Finally, they managed to find the nieces of the couple who lived in Jasper. The homeowners were overjoyed to find that the couple indeed had their happy ending and married after the war ended.
We read the article and the letters, and I was flabbergasted.
It was an amazing find that would be passed on to many generations. Another similar discovery unfolded in a home in Pennsylvania when a woman found the letters of a World War II soldier in her attic.
That woman was determined to find the descendants of the soldier since the home where the letters were found had no relation to the soldier or his family.
Dozens of those letters were postmarked in 1942 and addressed to his family in Hooversville. She had no idea how the letters ended up in her home in Somerset.
I knelt down and I was cleaning up
this disaster, and I found one letter, and 1 letter, 2, 3, 4, 5, they were all addressed to the same person, and I kept all of them.
But she made it her mission to find the family of the person who wrote them.
I don't know, I just felt like my heart told me that I had to give these back.
Finally, she succeeded in tracking down his nephew and hand-delivered the pieces of their family history.
It's really inspiring, I'll tell you, because it's so much history to it.
Underground city. Imagine doing some home remodeling work in your basement and accidentally stumbling upon the entrance to a hidden underground city. Something like this actually happened in Turkey in 1963. This ancient city found underground is now known as Derinkuyu. Ever since its discovery, it has been hailed as one of the largest underground communities found. Even after decades of its discovery, its history and construction remain somewhat mysterious. It is speculated that the primary purpose of the city was to take refuge against invasions. It makes sense that it has many defensive features. It has around 8 levels and can shelter almost 20,000 people, along with their belongings, food, and livestock. Secret safe. People have found plenty of intriguing things hidden in their homes. Look what this dad found when he lifted a loose tile in the closet of his new home. A secret safe set into concrete. Homeowner Joe even posted a photo on social media. Just bought a house, found this hidden under the floor. How do I open this? They became really anxious to find what was inside and were hoping for it to be full of gold bars or money.
We're really anxious to find out what's inside the safe. I'm hoping maybe gold bars or something.
Money!
Finally, they opened it by getting the code from the original manufacturer, and to their disappointment, it was full of water.
Oh, that is heavy.
Wow. It's water.
Okay, it's full of water.
Upon further inspection, they found a gold coin worth $200. Still, better than nothing. Letter in a bottle. A nostalgic discovery was made by a man during his home renovations in Newcastle. Half-a-century-old milk bottle was found shrouded in mystery between the 2 walls of his apartment.
About half an hour before, I joked to the boys, saying that if we found some hidden treasure in the walls, that we'd go halves.
It held a letter with a message from the past, almost dated back. It was written by the original plasterers of the home, offering a glimpse into life in Australia at that time. The homeowner decided to go the extra mile and managed to track down one of the authors of this note. Luckily, his research ended, and he was able to meet the writer.
And the fact that it was 47 years ago was even more of a shock.
He was now a 66-year-old man named Ron, and was surely overwhelmed by this piece of history. TwoWay Mirror. You can get a good sense of your new home when looking around, but it's not until you move in that you discover all its weirdness. And for this family from Arizona, it wasn't until they noticed that they couldn't remove the bathroom mirror from the wall that they started to get suspicious. After removing a section of the wall, they discovered that it was the back of a 2-way mirror, as well as the space containing cabinets and some wires that they believed were used for secret cameras. It kinda managed to scare them, but it somewhat made sense when they got to know that the home was once owned by an illegal organization that often hosted lavish parties. I mean, what's better than a creative house? Now it's time for today's open discussion. This picture making the rounds on the internet was captured when a snake was found living inside the wall of a house in Uttar Pradesh, India. The family called in a snake expert, and they had to break down the wall to get the snake out. It turned out to be a cobra and didn't seem ready to leave its house trying to go back into the wall. It had made the wall hollow with various gaping holes here and there. Once out, the locals had gathered to take a look at the snake. Some even put out money for it due to its religious importance in the region. The wrangler put it in a bag and took it with him to set it free in the wild. Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.